Let's go to Bill Nelson from Florida at the Russell balcony in Washington, and Ann Thompson in Louisiana on the Gulf. We want a reality check from both of you. First to you, Senator. You're hearing good news from the president and his top officials, of course, today. Are you as optimistic as they are that the Gulf situation is far better than we expected, and that we believe that it's 2/3 or 3/4 cleaned up?
I believe if that's what they think, then I believe it. But let me say the big unknown, Andrea, is still how much oil is lurking underneath the surface, and what are the effects of the chemical dispersants on the long-term health of the Gulf. That's the unknown, and we've got research vessels out there trying to determine that right now.
And Senator Ann Thompson is with us down there. And Ann, you've been there for 107, 108 days, whatever it has been. You've watched it all and talked to everyone down there. Are they concerned that the cleanup is going to be scaled back too soon?
Absolutely. That's the biggest fear down here, Andrea. But to this oil budget that the White House has put out today, that 26% of the oil that's still in the Gulf, that's more than 1 million barrels of oil. That's 4 times the size of the Exxon Valdez spill up in Alaska. So while it is good news, they think they have cleaned up most of the oil. Think of what's still out there and think of what they don't know. For example, in the Valdez situation, 20 years later, they still found oil that is toxic. Now, they don't think that will happen here because it's hotter here and it's degrading faster, but there's so much they don't know, and they have to stick with it. And the people here hope that they do stick with it, because they're going to be living with the repercussions for not just weeks and months, but decades to come.
And Senator Nelson, the even more recent example is 9/11 and what EPA erroneously told the first responders who are dealing with the health impacts of that.
Well, indeed. And for example, on a lot of lessons learned, we want to know, why did EPA say you don't use these dispersants very frequently, and the Coast Guard overrode that decision and allowed those dispersants to be used? There's a lot that we still have to learn, and in the meantime, coming out of all of this economic deprivation that people along the Gulf have suffered, for example, the tourism, when the tourists didn't come because they thought there was oil on our beaches. So there's still, as Ann said, and by the way, I want to compliment Ann, she has been spot on the whole time in her analysis of all of this. But we're going to be suffering for a long time.
Thank you for that. Ann is too modest to acknowledge, but we are all incredibly proud of what Ann and her team has been doing down there. And right now, Robert Gibbs is coming to the podium, so we're going to go to the briefing. But Ann Thompson, if you could just give us the schedule, as far as you know, of what's going to happen with Static Kill and with the relief wells, which is, of course, the real deal.
They have a big decision to make with Static Kill, Andrea, as to whether or not they're going to pump cement down on top of that mud. That's what they're trying to decide today. The relief wells, the work should resume tomorrow, and they hope to actually intersect the Macondo well within, I'd say, middle of next week at this point.
And Senator Nelson, finally, are you on the Hill satisfied that the White House is going to give you an honest read on all of this, and that you will get real facts about the dispersant and about the science as it evolves?
We have to get real truth about all of this, simply because you want to prevent the kind of damage in the future. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of command and control problems early on. They overcame a lot of that, but finally, hallelujah, this nightmare is beginning to come to an end.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator Nelson, and thanks, Ann Thompson.